You ever been stuck trying to fix something in an Office app and feel there should be an easy answer? Or maybe you are supporting Office 365 users and need some guidance on the most popular troubleshooting steps for the various applications? Then this course is for you. Welcome to Office 365 Troubleshooting. I'm Sharon Bennett. I'm Microsoft Certified Solutions Expert in Cloud Platform Infrastructure and Office 365, and I'll be leading you through this Office 365 course. In this course, we are going to explore various troubleshooting tips to help you resolve some of the most common Office application issues that you or the users that you support may experience when using Office 365. If you're ready, grab your favorite beverage and let's dive into Office 365 troubleshooting. Before jumping into this course, there are a few things that you should know. This course focuses on troubleshooting common Office 365 application issues. It's designed for the Level 1 administrator who is supporting users. Therefore, you should be familiar with Office 365 and the Office applications, including Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. If you're an individual learner, this course can also be beneficial. In order to step through some of the demonstrations, you'll need to have access to either Office 365 or the Office suite of applications. We cover a lot of the troubleshooting steps in this course. If you're looking for more in-depth Office 365 administrative courses, please refer to the library. Sometimes you may experience issues when you're trying to open a Word document. If this occurs, the first thing that you should do is ensure that Windows and Office is up to date. But if the problem continues, follow these steps in order. Our first step is to insert the document that we are having problems with into another document. Using this method leaves the last paragraph mark behind. And this is important because the last paragraph mark contains information about that document. And when you leave it behind, you may be able to retrieve the text if that document was damaged. And this is a super simple process. First thing you'll need to do is open Word and select Blank Document. Then from the ribbon, select Insert, and from the text box, you'll select Object. Then Create from File, and then browse for the file that is having problems opening. And select OK. As you can see, the text from that document was inserted into a new blank document. We can now work with this document, or we can copy and paste the information that we need to another document. I'm going to go ahead and close Word, and I will not be saving this file. If this does not work and you still cannot open your file, then you can go ahead and start Word using the A switch. Using the A switch prevents add-ins and the global template from being loaded. This switch will also lock the file from being read or edited, giving you the opportunity to pull out data. You'll need to ensure that Word is closed. Next, use the Run command. And instead of Safe, you'll run winword.exe/a. And this will open Word for you. And at this point, you could go ahead and disable the add-ins. To do so, you'll select Options and then Add-ins. And there will be a number to choose from here. As you disable these add-ins, try opening up your document again. If the problem still exists, then our next troubleshooting step is to remove the Word Data Registry subkey. This subkey contains the most frequently used options in Word. And deleting it forces Word to rebuild the key using the default values. Now, before we go any further, please understand that we are going to modify the system registry. And if this is not done correctly, issues may occur. As before, we'll ensure that Word is closed. And then to access the registry, I'm going to use the Run command and type regedit. You are now looking at the registry editor. To find the key that we need to delete, we're going to search in HKey current user, and then Software, Microsoft, and then Office. I happen to be using Word 2016. Therefore, the corresponding folder that I will select will be 16. This will be different depending on the version of Word that you're using. I'm going to scroll down to Word and then Data. Now, before I delete this key, I am going to make a backup of it. I'm going to right-click and select Export. I'm going to call the registry key Word Data Backup, or BK for short, and it will be on my desktop if I need it. I can now safely go ahead and delete this key. Again, right-click and then delete. Am I sure? Yes, I am. And that key is now gone. At this point, you would go ahead and restart Word and see if the issue is still continuing. If the issue does not continue, you don't have to do anything else. But if the issue does continue, then you'll need to restore that key. And to do so, you'll need that backup. All you'll simply do is double-click the backup of the registry key, We're prompted, do we want to continue to add this data back to the registry? Yes. And it's now been added back to the registry. If you're still continuing to experience issues, then we'll move on to the next step. And again, that will happen in the registry. We'll remove the Options Registry subkey. Back in the registry, you'll find Options under the Word directory. As before, we are going to export this first for safety. I can now go ahead and delete this key. I am prompted. Yes, I'm sure. If Word starts normally, then fantastic, you don't need to do anything else. If Word doesn't start, then you'll have to restore the key just as we did previously. And as before, we'll pop back to the desktop, double click, and say yes. If Word is still continuing to give you some problems, our final step is to rename the normal .dot or normal.m templates. The first thing I need to do is close down the registry. And the easiest way to rename these files is to do so via File Explorer. And you'll find these templates in your profile folder, which will be in this PC, C drive, Users, and U. This will be followed by selecting the App Data folder. If this folder is not visible, pop up to View and select Hidden Items. Roaming, Microsoft, and then Templates. And you'll notice here that we have the normal.m template file. I'm going to rename this to old. The reason we delete or rename the normal.dot or the normal.m is that this is the default Word template, and it contains all of the formatting, auto text, macros, and other customizations. If you delete it, then Word is forced to recreate a clean template. Microsoft recommends that you rename it instead of deleting it. I'm going to go ahead and launch Word. I'm going to open up a blank document, and now I'm going to close Word. And you'll notice that we now have a new normal.m template, and this is the clean template. For detailed steps and other helpful tips, tricks, and techniques, please refer to the Word Help Center. There may be times when you lose a document. I know I've done this myself on several occasions. I've closed the document before I saved it, or I closed the document and saved it, but saved it to a location I couldn't remember. Luckily, there's a couple of easy ways for us to locate those lost Word documents. The first and easiest method is just to open up File Explorer and navigate to the folder where you think the document may be. I'm going to check my Documents folder, and as you can see, I have a list of documents here. It's pretty easy for me to pick out the Word documents because that's all I have here. But if I had other files within this folder, I could narrow down the Word documents by doing a search. To pull all the files that are Word documents, I would search using the asterisk, because that is a wildcard, and then DOC for older versions of Word, and DOCX for newer versions. I can also search for Word backup files using asterisk WBK, and you'll notice that I have one. Before you can search on the WBK extension, you need to enable backups, and you need to do this from within Word. Let's go ahead, pop into Word, and I'll show you where you enable backups. You'll scroll down to Options, Advanced, and then you'll scroll all the way down, and under Save, you'll enable Always Create a Backup Copy. By default, this is unchecked. Once you've checked it, click OK, and that's it. Whenever you open a document and make an edit to it, a backup copy will be saved. The next place to look for lost files is in our Auto Recover folder. And I will admit, this is my go-to place for lost files. But you need to know where that Auto Recover folder is before you can start recovering files from there. The easiest way to find the location of the Auto Recover folder is using, again, the Word options. Select File, Options, and this time select Save. It's here you'll see how the auto recovery is handled. Right now, my documents are saved every 10 minutes for auto recovery. I'm going to reduce that down to 5 minutes. I also like to enable Keep the Last Auto Recovered Version if I close without saving, because a lot of times, like I said, I just close it and forget to save it. And finally, we have the location of our auto recovered files. I can simply browse to this location, and I can start to search through these folders for my files. I don't have any in here at the moment. And those are the 2 quick tips for finding lost Word files. The formatting in your Word document can cause unexpected behavior. In this lesson, we'll explore how to troubleshoot Word formatting. The first thing I always like to do is turn on the formatting for a document, and to do so, just click on the paragraph icon. When you turn this on, you will see all the formatting that has been applied to your document, including the paragraph marks, tabs, spaces, etc. You may want some of these formatting marks to always be displayed without actually turning on the formatting. To do so, select File, Options, and then Display. Now you can choose what do you always want to see. In my example, we're going to select Spaces. I'm going to click OK, and now I'm going to turn off the formatting. And now we can still see the dots in between the words, and that represents those spaces. Another handy trick to see what's going on in your document is to use the status bar. The status bar can provide you with quick information about the document, and it's located at the bottom of the page. And in our example, we can see we're on page 1 of 2. We have 24 of 471 words selected. Grammar and spelling is turned on, and we're using the English dictionary. Over to the other side, we can see the display settings, the focus, we can adjust the views, etc. If you'd like to enable additional functionality, right-click on the status bar, and then turn on the item that you would like to see. In our example, I'm going to turn on line number. Now we can see we're on line 1. If I move my mouse to another location on the page, that line changes to 70. The next tool has to be one of my favorite tools in Word. It's the Format Painter. You see, I like to bring in text from a variety of sources, and the formatting is typically different from all those sources. Using the Format Painter allows me to select the formatting that I like from within the document, and then easily apply it to the other text within that same document. For example, if we take a look at Facilities, we can see our font, the size of the font, we can see it's bold as well as the color. Down under Amenities, that is different. And if I want to change it, now I've got to remember, what was that font? Was it a 14? Was it a 13? Oh, I don't remember. The easier way to do it is select what you want to copy, then click Format Painter, and then select the word or words or paragraph that you want that formatting applied to. Much easier, isn't it? And if you're experiencing a formatting problem within the document, you may have just replaced the bad formatting with good formatting. Sometimes you'll want to remove formatting from the text in your document, and a really quick way to do this is select the text and then use the Clear Formatting button. I'm going to go ahead and select the entire paragraph that is underlined. And you'll notice that within this paragraph there is also some bold text. When I select the Clear Formatting, you'll notice that the underline as well as the bold text has been cleared. If you're still experiencing issues with your formatting, you can use the Word Style Inspector to display more details about the formatting of your text. To demonstrate this, I'm going to select the next paragraph. Once the paragraph has been selected, I'm going to choose Styles and then the Style Inspector. And it's here we can see the details of that paragraph. The formatting is normal and the line spacing is at 1.5. If I selected the text only, so we can see that the text level is strong. I can also clear the formatting right from here. I've selected my text, and I can clear just this section by using the Clear Formatting button, or I can also clear the line spacing from the entire paragraph, again following the same procedure. We'll move that box a little bit out of our way. And finally, I'd like to show you the Reveal Formatting feature. It's at the bottom of the Style Inspector box. And when I select that, we'll have more information shown to us about the formatting for what we currently have selected. We can see the font, the language, the alignment, the indentation, and the spacing. We can also compare formatting between different sections of text by selecting Compare to another location. And then in this case, I'm going to select the Underground Jazz Club text. And now we can clearly see what is changed. We can see that the font is bold in one, as well as there is a difference in the tabs. By cleaning up the extraneous formatting, you may solve some of your document formatting issues. Sometimes your document may become damaged and you may not be able to open the document, or you may be able to open it, but some of the text may not be legible. If this happens, the first step in recovering the document or the text is to use the Open and Repair method to repair the damaged file. And this is really easy to do. What you'll need to do is open Word. And this is easy to do. Start by launching Word. and then Open. And this is the trick. Now you must select Browse because you have to open the file from the Explorer window. I'm going to select the file that is damaged, and instead of selecting Open, I'm going to Open and Repair. Word will now try to repair that damaged file for you. If the Open Repair does not fix the damaged file, you can try changing the document template from a custom document template back to a normal template. And that's really easy to do. If you have your file open, select File, Options, Add-ins. Under Manage at the bottom of the window, select Templates, and then Go. You'll notice here that my document template is the normal document template. If I had a customized template for this document, I'd want to replace it with the normal .m file. To do so, you'd click Attach, and then select the normal template file. And Open, and OK. If the damage in the document was because of the formatting or some other customizations in that customized template that you used initially, those customizations and formatting will be removed when you apply the normal .m template back to the document. If that doesn't work, you can start Word using the default settings. The first thing I need to do is close Word. Now, I'm going to warn you, to do this, you will need to edit the registry. If you are uncomfortable doing this, then you may want to defer this to your IT administrator or your IT help desk. To edit the registry, press the Windows key and then type regedit. Now we need to navigate to the Word registry key. You'll find that under HKey Current User, followed by Software, Microsoft, and then Office. You may have to scroll down for it. And then you'll select the folder that represents your version of Word. I'm using Office 365, therefore my version is 16. This is where you'll find the Word registry key. Now, before you delete this, it is highly recommended that you back it up. To do so, right-click, select Export, and I'm going to save it to the desktop. That way, if something goes wrong, I can restore that registry key. I can now go ahead and delete the Word registry key. Am I sure? Yes, I am. At this point, you would go ahead, close the registry, and then launch Word. Now, Word will start with brand new default settings, and hopefully you'll be able to retrieve that data. If you're still unable to access the document, your next step is to change the printer drivers. And you may be wondering why you want to change the printer drivers. Well, Word will load the default printer driver that you have on your system. When you change the printer driver and then relaunch Word, it may allow you to access that damaged document. The first thing you need to do is ensure that Word is closed. Next, you'll need to access devices and printers on your system. And we are going to install a new XPS printer driver. To do so, select Add a Printer. I know that a printer will not be found, therefore I'm going to select the printer that I want isn't listed. And this is followed by Add a local printer or network printer with manual settings, because I'm going to control how I set up this printer. I'm going to use LPT port 1. And now I need to find the printer driver. Search for Microsoft and then select Microsoft XPS Document Writer. Select Next, and you can use the driver that's already installed. Next one more time, provide a name if you wish, and then ensure that this printer is set up as the default printer, and then finish. Now when you launch Word, the XPS printer driver will be the default printer. This may allow you to open and/or retrieve the damaged data in your file. If you're still unable to access the damaged data, you can move on to the next step, which is saving your document in a different file format. To do so, launch the document that has the damaged data in it, if you can. For our demonstration, I'm going to use a blank document. The process is the same whether or not there's damaged data in this file or not. Next, select File, and then Save As. Browse. I'm going to save this file in my Documents folder, and here's the trick. You'll need to change the Save As type. Drop down to a Word 97 to 2003 document, and then save. Close the file, and then reopen that document. And with some luck, you'll be able to access that text that's giving you a problem. I'm going to go ahead and close this document. First thing I need to do is open up a new blank document. I'm going to go back up to File, and then Blank Document. Next, I'm going to open up the document that has the bad formatting in it. And instead of doing it from File and then opening it, I'm going to do it from File Explorer. And select our problem document. Now, before you start copying text, the first thing you want to do is turn on formatting. And the reason you want to do this is you do not want to take the last paragraph mark. That last paragraph mark contains all the information about the document. And if you copy that last paragraph mark, you could be copying that bad formatting to the new document. I'm going to take what I want, excluding that last paragraph mark. Simply copy, and then paste it into the blank document. When you do it this way, the formatting is left behind, and hopefully you'll be able to access the text within that document. For additional Word troubleshooting tips and tricks, please refer to the Word Help Center. In this very quick lesson, we're going to explore some of the common troubleshooting issues and fixes for when you're having issues printing from Word. When your file fails to print, I always start with the quick fixes first, such as, is the printer turned on? Is there paper in the printer? Is there ink in the printer, including all of the different colors? Some printers will not print unless every cartridge has ink, even if you don't need that color for your print job. Are the cables secure? If it's a wireless printer, is it connected to the wireless network? Is that printer in a pause state? Always make sure that the printer drivers are up to date. And finally, is Windows and Office up to date as well? If the quick fixes do not solve the issue, then it's time to move on to other troubleshooting techniques, starting with, can you print other documents, or is it just the one that's giving you a hard time? Can you print from other programs? If you can't print from Word, can you print from PowerPoint or Excel? Can you print with different print drivers or a different printer? You'll also want to use the default settings, and to do that, you'll need to remove the Word Data Registry key. I showed you how to do that in a previous video. Refer back to that one, but please make sure you back up that key first. And finally, test to see if there's other issues occurring within the operating system itself. Following these quick tips and tricks, you should be able to resolve your printing issue. Let's explore some common troubleshooting techniques that can be used if PowerPoint is failing to start or becomes unresponsive. First, and as always, ensure that Office and Windows are up to date. If the issue continues, then follow these steps in order, starting with updating the antivirus software, and ensure that there isn't a conflict with PowerPoint and the antivirus software. You'll also want to ensure that another process is not using PowerPoint, or the unresponsiveness could be from something as simple as saving a large presentation. In that case, you're just going to have to be patient for a few moments. Let's pop over to our desktop and take a look at some of the other troubleshooting techniques you can use. If PowerPoint is not starting, you can start it in safe mode to remove add-ins, as these tend to be a common source of issues. To do so, select Run, and then type PowerPoint/safe, and you'll notice the spelling of PowerPoint here. It's PowerPNT. Select OK. PowerPoint has now been launched in safe mode, and you'll notice we're unable to access several of the features and functions. To remove add-ins, select File, Options, Add-ins, and at this point, you could go ahead and select your add-ins and disable them. I don't have any. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I'm going to close PowerPoint. You would now go ahead, restart PowerPoint, and see if the issue has cleared up. If the issue has not cleared up, the next thing you're going to do is try to repair PowerPoint. To do so, we're going to search for Programs, and we'll select Add or Remove Programs from System Settings. Select your version of Office, and then Modify. I know that's counterintuitive, but when you select Modify, you'll be able to repair the Office program. And you have two options, a quick repair and an online repair. I'm going to cancel this. And finally, our last step is to change the default printer. And we do this because PowerPoint will load the default printer when starting, and sometimes changing that printer can solve the issue. As before, I'm going to go ahead and do a search. I'm going to select Change Default Printer from System Settings. You'll notice my default printer is currently a Brother printer. I'm going to change the default to Microsoft XPS Document Writer V4. Select it, and then Manage, and set as default. Now, the next time you launch PowerPoint, it will use this default printer. For other helpful troubleshooting techniques, tips, and tricks, see the PowerPoint Help Center. We have all had days where nothing goes right. And if your day included losing your PowerPoint presentation that is 62 slides long and you spend all afternoon working on, then you're having a really bad day. Luckily, the steps for locating missing PowerPoint files is similar for all the desktop apps. As always, the first place we should start is in File Explorer, as you see here. Now, in my list, which is short, we can easily see our PowerPoint files. If I had a longer list, I could search by extension. To do so, select the directory, and then Enter *.pptx, and this will pull up all the new PowerPoint files. If you're using an older version of PowerPoint, the extension will be PPT. Next, you can go ahead and look in the Auto Recover folder. And the easiest place to find that Auto Recover folder is within PowerPoint itself. Open PowerPoint, scroll up to File, Options, and then Save. It's here that we can change how often our files are auto-saved. In this example, I'm saving them every 10 minutes. I also like to check Keep the last Auto Recover version if I close without saving. This has saved me a number of times, especially on an older laptop that I have, where it constantly shuts down on itself. At least I know my PowerPoint file will be saved. And it's here we'll also find the file location for these auto-recovered files. Now, before I leave here, I do want to change this down to 1 minute. I'm also going to copy that location. Click OK to save for 1 minute. And then I can either browse to that location, or I'm going to use the Run command and then paste that file location into the dialog box. And it's already there for me. And click OK. We can now see a list of folders. You can start searching these folders for your file. In this case, I have a PowerPoint file. I'm going to go ahead, double-click it, and my file is now available to me. And you'll notice here, it clearly states that this is a recovered file that is temporarily stored on our computer. If you need this file, be sure to click Restore. Otherwise, this file may disappear on you. And those are the two ways to find lost PowerPoint files on your system. At some point in your career, you may come across a PowerPoint presentation that just won't open. I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks to try to open that presentation file. And the easiest thing to do is open it in PowerPoint and have PowerPoint try to repair it. The trick to this is that you must use the Open function in PowerPoint and not select a pinned or recent file. Start by selecting Open and then Browse. Select the file that will not open, and instead of selecting Open, scroll down and choose Open and Repair. PowerPoint will now try to open that file for you. If that doesn't work, you can move on to the next method, which is dragging the presentation to the PowerPoint application itself. I'm going to close PowerPoint. And for this, I like to work with two File Explorer windows. In the one window, I have the folder where the presentation that will not open is located. In the other window, I'll navigate to the PowerPoint application itself. For my version of Office, I need to navigate to C, Program Files, Microsoft Office, Root, Office 16. From here, I could scroll all the way down to the P's. Instead, I'm just going to search for Power. And we can see our PowerPoint application. All you simply do now is drag the PowerPoint presentation that will not open to the PowerPoint application itself. PowerPoint will now launch, and hopefully your presentation will open. If you're still unable to open the PowerPoint presentation, your next step is to hopefully pull the slides from that presentation into a new presentation. I'm going to close the current presentation and open a new presentation. This will be a blank presentation. To insert the slides from the presentation that is unopenable, select New Slide, and down at the bottom, choose Reuse Slides. This is followed by choosing the presentation that will not open, and then selecting Choose Slides. Do not try to open in PowerPoint. If you can see the slides, select the slide that you want to insert into the new presentation. You may have to uncheck Source Formatting. And when that happens, you will have to reapply the theme to the presentation when you're done. This is also a great tip if you have a presentation that has damaged slides. The next step in troubleshooting a presentation that will not open is to rename the temp file if it exists. I'm going to close this presentation and open up a new one. To make it a little bit easier to see, I'm going to maximize our window. I'm going to select our presentation. I'm going to minimize the presentation for the moment. You'll notice here that we have a temporary copy of that PowerPoint presentation. When I close that presentation, this temporary copy will be removed. This is a great trick if PowerPoint has crashed, because typically the temporary file will still exist. The next two troubleshooting steps play off of each other. The first one is make a copy of the file itself. Right-click, copy, and then paste. At this point, you could try opening that file. If that doesn't work, I would rename this copy and then open it. If you cannot open the file at this point, then in all likelihood, the file is corrupt and additional troubleshooting steps may need to be taken, such as running a system scan. Before we wrap this lesson up, there is one last tip that you can use to recover damaged data from a presentation. If you can open the presentation, but the data is corrupted, you can use this trick to pull all the text. Back in our presentation, what you'll do is save the presentation as an outline or rich text file. To do so, select File, Save As, Browse, and then Outline RTF. Click Save. Let's go back to our folder, and you'll notice that we now have a rich text formatted document. In my case, it will open in Word. If you do not have Word, it will open up in Notepad or WordPad. And now we can at least grab all of the text from that presentation. This will not retain graphics or tables or pictures, but if you're just looking for the text, this is a great tip. For additional tips, tricks, and troubleshooting techniques, please refer to the PowerPoint Help Center. Let's take a few minutes to explore some of the common PowerPoint media issues and the associated fixes. The best way to avoid hiccups in PowerPoint is to follow the Microsoft recommendations for audio and video. The video recommendations for PowerPoint 2013 and 2016 are to use an MP4 encoded with H.264 video, which is an MPEG-4 AVC and ACC audio. If you happen to be using an older version of PowerPoint, such as PowerPoint 2010, Microsoft recommends using the Windows Media Video Format, or WMV. If you're still having hiccups, you'll need to ensure that you're using a supported video format. PowerPoint will support Windows video files, both using the extension ASF and AVI. But please note that additional codecs may be required. PowerPoint will also support MP4 video files, movie files, Adobe Flash Media, and the Windows Media Video file as well. Another common issue experienced by PowerPoint users relates to the hardware. To improve your PowerPoint experience, you may need to install more memory or even a different graphics card. If this isn't an option, try to update the video card drivers. And if possible, turn on hardware acceleration. And finally, you'll want to check for free disk space. This becomes really important if your PowerPoint presentation has a lot of graphics or video in it. And one of the easiest ways to free up disk space is to clean out the temp folder. Now let's take a look at how to optimize pictures and video in a PowerPoint presentation. This presentation contains both video and images, and we're going to compress both, starting off with video. To do so, select File, Info, and then Compress Media. Select the compression that you would like for this video. Now, keep in mind that when you compress video, the quality may be affected, as well as embedded subtitles and alternate audio tracks will also be removed. I'm going to select one, but I will get an error, and that is because I do not have an audio device attached to this system. Just something to keep in mind. Now, let's go ahead and compress the images. To do so, select a slide that has an image, and then the image. On the ribbon, select Picture Format, and then Compress Pictures. And you have the option to apply to all the pictures or only this picture. I'm going to apply it to all the pictures. Then you can select your compression type. I'm going to select Web in this case. Select OK, and now your images will be compressed. For more helpful tips, tricks, and techniques to optimize your PowerPoint experience, please refer to the PowerPoint Support Center or other videos within this library. There may be times when your presentation will not print or print the way that you intended it to print. Let's start off with the quick fixes to make sure that you can print your presentation. Starting off with, is the printer turned on? Is there paper in the printer? Is there ink in the printer? My printer will not print if even one of the colors is empty. Are the cables secure? Is the printer on a wireless network and is it connected? Is the printer paused? Always check to make sure that the printer drivers are up to date. And if all else fails, then double check to ensure that Windows and Office is up to date. That should take care of printing problems. Now let's take a look at how we can fine-tune the printing in a PowerPoint presentation. I have a presentation up, and the first thing I'm going to show you is how we can change the size of our slides. To do so, select Design, and then Slide Size. And you'll notice here that I can go between Widescreen and Standard. If I select Standard, I can then select between Maximize and Ensure Fit. I'm going to select Ensure Fit, and you'll notice what will happen. The slide changes, but the template does as well. Therefore, I'm going to go back to have my original template. Back up to slide size. We can also customize the slide size as well as the orientation for the slides and for the handout and notes. I'm going to cancel that. Let's look at our different options for printing our presentations. In File, Print. If you want to print one slide per page, you would select full page slides. But you can change that to having 2 slides per page, whatever works best for you. I'm going to go back to full page slides. And finally, you can export and print your slides in different formats. For example, you can create a PDF, you can create a video. One of the ones that I use quite often is creating handouts. These will put your notes into a Word document, and you can select how you want that to look. And when we select a PDF, we can adjust the optimization. Is it a standard optimization or is it minimum? And then publish. And this will create a PDF for you of your slide deck. The notes will not be included in the PDF. Let's take a look at that. You'll notice as I flip through our PDF, there are no notes. This is a great way to distribute your decks. For more tips, tricks, and troubleshooting techniques, please refer to the PowerPoint Help Center. In this lesson, we're going to explore some of the common troubleshooting techniques that you can use if you're experiencing Excel startup issues. And this could be problems with Excel actually starting, or maybe just specific workbooks. The basic troubleshooting steps include, first, and as always, ensure that Office and Windows are up to date. Next, determine if there is a conflict with another program or process. If Excel stops responding, there could be issues with the file itself, such as hidden objects in the file, excessive styles, invalid names, or incorrect formulas or arrays. We'll be covering troubleshooting techniques to address some of these issues in more detail in an upcoming lesson. In the meantime, let's pop over to our desktop and take a look at some of the other troubleshooting techniques that you can apply. Our first troubleshooting technique, when we're at the desktop, is to run Excel in safe mode. To do this, from your desktop, click the Windows key and start typing Run. And then select Run from Apps. In the dialog box, enter Excel /safe. This will start Excel in safe mode. And you can tell you're in safe mode because it states that up at the top. Once you're in safe mode, you can disable the add-ins. To do so, select File, Options, and then Add-ins. And the reason you want to remove your add-ins is sometimes an add-in can cause unexpected results. In my example, I have 2 application add-ins that are active. To disable them, down at the bottom, select Go from Manage Excel Add-ins, uncheck the add-ins that are active, and click OK. And that's it. That's all you have to do. At this point, you would close Excel and then restart and see if that corrected your problem. If the problem has been corrected, you can start adding in the add-ins one at a time. If the issue persists, you can repair Excel. I'm going to do this through Add Remove Programs. As before, I'm going to select the Windows key, and this time I'm going to search for Programs. And select Add or Remove Programs from System Settings. Select your version of Office. I know this is counterintuitive, but select Modify. The first thing you'll want to do is run through a quick repair. Using this option should fix most of your issues right off the top. But if that doesn't work, then move into the online repair, and that will take some time. Those are your basic troubleshooting techniques to handle Excel if you're having issues with Excel starting. For additional tips and tricks, see the Excel Help Center. We've all had days where things go wrong. And if you lose your Excel file, that can add to that day that is not going your way. But there are steps that you can do to locate missing files. And these steps are going to be very similar to the steps that we've already explored in some of the other Office applications. As always, I like to start in File Explorer. Choose the folder where you think your document may be, and you can scroll through that folder, or to make life a little bit easier, you can perform a search. I'm going to search for all of the Excel files, starting off with an asterisk, which is a wildcard. And then we'll follow this through with the extension of Excel, which is XLS. If you stop here, this will include all versions of Excel. If you're looking for just newer versions, follow this through with an X. If you're unable to find the file here, the next option is to check the Auto Recover folder. But before you can do that, you need to know where that Auto Recover folder is located. The easiest way to do that is in Excel itself. Open Excel, File, Options, and then Save. Your auto recover file location will be listed. I'm going to copy that. Before I close this window, I'm going to change how often my files are saved for auto recover. Right now, it's set at 10 minutes, which is default. I'm going to reduce that down to 1 minute. Next, I'm going to select the Windows key and type Run and paste the file path. If there are any auto-recovered files, they'll be in this folder. I don't have any. And to avoid losing files and freaking yourself out, you can have Excel automatically back up a file when you're working on it. To do so, pop back into Excel and then open the file that you would like to have a backup of. Select File, Save As, select your location, and you can do that by this PC or browse, and then more options. Under Tools, select General Options, and then always create a backup. Now this file will always be backed up. I already have a version of this file. I'm going to go ahead and replace it. We pop back into File Explorer. We can see that backed up file. And there is our backed up file. Perfect. Personally, I like to create a backup of important Excel files just in case I'm having one of those days. You may encounter a workbook that has been damaged, and you need to extract the data from that workbook. And this can be done by either repairing the workbook or trying to extract the data. I always like to try to repair the workbook first. To do so, open Excel, and then File, Open, and then Browse. This will not work with the pinned files. Select the file that is damaged, and instead of opening, choose Open and Repair. You are now given two options. You can repair or extract the data. I always like starting with repair, as I want to recover as much of that workbook as possible. In our example, our file was able to be opened and most of the data is there. I'm going to close this without saving, and let's repeat the process, but in this case we'll use extract. Now I have two options. If my workbook has formulas, I either have the option to convert those formulas to values or try to recover the formulas. I'm going to try to recover the formulas. And you'll notice a couple key differences when this file is opened. Our charts are no longer here. I'm not going to close this version because we need this open for their next step. Did you know that every time you open a workbook, all the calculations in that workbook are performed at the time of opening? If you can't open a specific workbook, you can set those calculations to manual. The first thing you need to do is open up a file. That's why I left this one open. Then pop down to Options and Formulas. Here we have the choice of how we want to handle the calculations. We can have it as automatic or as manual. When we change it to manual, workbooks will open without the formulas being automatically calculated. If your workbook won't open because there's a problem in the formula, this should take care of the problem. And then just click OK. And finally, the last step that we can try to recover damaged data is to use external references that link to the damaged workbook. Using this method will only pull the data, not the formulas. And the first thing you need to do is start off with a blank workbook. I'm going to close the file that I'm currently working in. I will not be saving it. I'm going to open a new blank workbook, and in cell A1, I'm going to type the equal sign and then the name of the workbook that is damaged. And this must be in the same folder. This is followed by the exclamation point and then the cells that you want to try to recover. I'm going to try to recover everything from cell A1 to K50 and hit enter. And all that data was pulled in from that file. For more tips and tricks, refer to the Excel Support Center or check out some of the other courses in the library. When there are different versions of Excel within the same office, compatibility problems can occur when users are sharing workbooks and sheets. Before we look at how to mitigate these issues, let's first explore the two loss levels of functionality and the common formatting that may be reduced or lost. Common issues that can cause significant loss can be triggered by exceeding the row or column limit of older versions of Excel, or using a feature in a newer version which didn't exist in an older version. Charting compatibility issues will always cause a significant loss of functionality, as will some sorting and filtering features. Next, we have issues that can cause a minor loss of fidelity. These issues are typically caused by formatting issues, including the lack of support for certain colors, unique fonts, or newer styles. We saw sorting and filtering can cause a significant loss of functionality, but it can also be classified as a minor loss of fidelity as well. It can be tough to know what is going to cause a compatibility issue, let alone to what extent. To help you mitigate compatibility issues, you can use the compatibility checker prior to saving your files. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. To check for compatibility issues, select File, Info, and then Check for Issues. This is followed by selecting Check Compatibility. We now have a list of the significant loss of functionality items, and there are several here, and then the minor loss of fidelity. Right now, this is for all versions of Excel. If I don't need to save this in an older Excel 97 to 2003 version, I can uncheck that. And when I do that, you'll notice that some of that functionality is no longer affected. Let's assume our office has at least Excel 2010. I can uncheck Excel 2007, and we'll notice that we now no longer have any compatibility issues. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Next, we're actually going to save the file as an older file. Select Save As, and I'm going to select Excel 97 to 2003. I really do hope nobody in your office is still using a version that old. And then select Save. I already have an older version saved, so I'm going to select OK. And as before, the compatibility checker will pop up for us. You'll notice the difference here now being is you don't have the option to select the versions. If I'm OK with this, I can select Continue, and our workbook will be saved in that older version, allowing the users with older versions of Excel to open it. Again, keeping in mind that they may have some loss. Do you have that one task in the office that drives you nuts? Well, for me, it's printing. And it doesn't matter what application I'm in, for some reason, printing and I don't get along. In this lesson, we're going to explore some common troubleshooting techniques for when your printer is not working, and then review some formatting tricks for printing your Excel worksheets correctly. When you're unable to print, the first thing you should do is double check your printer to make sure that it's turned on, that there's paper in it, that there's ink in it, that all the cables are secure. If you're using a wireless printer, ensure that it's connected to the network. I have an older printer and it drops the network connection quite often, and this causes me almost daily frustration. Be sure that the printer is not paused and that the drivers are up to date for the printer as well as Windows and Office. Now, let's pop into Excel to review a couple tricks to help you format your worksheet to print correctly. Here we have a simple worksheet. It's just a table, nothing fancy. The first thing I want to do before I print it is take a look at how it's going to print. To do so, pop into File and Print. And here we have a preview of how this worksheet will print. And there's a couple things that we can see right off the top. First of all, we're missing some of the month names. They're cut off, they're truncated. And this will span 4 sheets of paper, making those last 2 sheets a little bit hard to piece together. From within this view, we can actually make some quick adjustments. First thing we can do is adjust the scaling. The one I like is to fit the sheet on 1 page. We can see all the data is now on 1 page, but it's a little bit hard to read. You could adjust the orientation to see if that will help. And if you wanted to, instead of adjusting the scaling to fit on 1 page, you could fit all the columns to 1 page or all the rows. That definitely makes it a little bit easier, and it breaks it down nicely. But you'll notice that we still have some of our months cut off. Let's pop back into the Excel worksheet and see if we can correct this. Well, we can definitely see that our months are cut off. The easiest way to fix this is to double-click on the column line. That will automatically adjust the column to the widest width. We can also see year is pretty large. Let's do the same trick. And what that will do is adjust the column width to meet the year column. It's a great little trick. I love it. One of the other things you can do to help you with formatting before printing is to select on View and then view the page breaks. We can easily see that we're going to be on 2 pages. But there's been some changes because of the settings that we have. Our year is truncated, and we can see that some of our columns are also reduced. Let's pop back into Print and see if we can correct those from here. And it looks like we are going to be fine when we go to print this. We can see our year is clearly defined. We can see the full name of the month and all of the data. Since the print preview gives us a true representation of what will be printed, I'm going to go with this. At this point, we could go ahead and print. For more tips, tricks, and troubleshooting techniques, please refer to the Excel Help Center or other courses in the library. We are going to take a few minutes to discuss troubleshooting Access databases, specifically on backing up an Access database and maintaining it. But before we get into the actual demo, I want to talk to you about backups. I know you've heard it all before, but I do want to emphasize it once again. Think of this as a quick refresher. I know it's not something we like to think about, but things can happen. From fires or floods to an accidental deletion of your files, this can throw your company into chaos. And if not your company, it can make your afternoon really miserable. Therefore, your first line of defense is to protect yourself by doing a backup. Now that you know why you need a backup, you may be wondering how often you should be backing up your Access databases. Here is Microsoft's guideline. If your database is an archived database and rarely changes, then you should only back it up when the design or the data changes. If it's an active and used database, you'll want to back this up on a regular schedule. And finally, if your database is used by multiple people, you'll want to back it up after every design change. Here's my real-world rule of thumb. Basically, how much data can you afford to lose? Is it a week, a day, or even hours? Please take the time to come up and implement a backup plan, not only for your Access databases, but for the rest of your data as well. With that, let's pop into Access, and I'm going to show you how we back up our Access databases as well as maintain them. We just discussed the importance of backups. Let's go ahead and back up this Access database. And this is really easy to do, and there's no reason why you should not be doing this if you're using Access. You pop into File, select Save As, and Backup Database. Select Save As once again, and then you'll want to save this database to a different location. For our purposes, I'm just going to pop it onto the desktop, and I'm going to leave the file name the same. That's it. My database is now backed up. Let's go ahead and restore that database. I'm going to close the current contact management database and pop onto my desktop. Here you will see that Access database backup. All you need to do is select it, and that's it. You're now back up and running. And finally, I like to discuss database maintenance. The larger a database becomes, you may notice that the performance decreases, or your database may also become damaged or corrupted. If you experience either of these issues, using the Compact and Repair tool should be used, not only to prevent these issues, but it will also fix them. If Access detects corruption or damage on its own, it will automatically launch the Compact and Repair tool for you, but we can also do it manually. And let's go ahead and do that. Select File, Info, Compact and Repair. That's it. It's done. Now, this is a very small 3-record database. That's why it was so quick. A larger Access database will take time. For more tips, tricks, and troubleshooting techniques, please refer to the Access Help Center, and we have several Access courses within the library. In this very short lesson, we're going to look at how to configure your audio and video devices in Teams. Some of you may be asking, wait a minute, I don't have Teams, I use Skype for Business. And that will be true until 2021, when Skype will then be retired. All new Office 365 tenants will be deployed with Teams. You'll find Teams much easier to troubleshoot than Skype for Business. As always, the first thing you'll want to do is check to see if there's any updates for your desktop client. To do so, select You, and then check for updates. You'll notice a pop-up. We will check and install any updates while you continue to work. If there is an update, we'll be notified. To review and modify your audio and video setup, you'll once again pop up to You, and then select Settings, followed by Devices. My system does not have either a mic or a camera, but you would select the appropriate audio device that you need to use, as well as the speaker, a microphone, and a camera. After you've configured these devices, you'll want to make a test call. This is when you record your message, and as you can tell, I do not have a microphone there. As I do not have a microphone attached to this system, we can see our error messages. Microphone is not found, or it is muted, and the camera is not found, but the speaker and network are both connected. If you have speakers, a mic, and a camera attached to your system, but Teams is unable to use those devices, you'll want to reach out to your IT help desk for additional support. Before I wrap this lesson up, and before you reach out to IT help desk, if you're using a headset with controls on the headset, double check to see that you haven't accidentally muted yourself if people can't hear you. I can't tell you the number of times I've done that. If any of your devices use batteries, make sure that those batteries are fresh or that the device is charged if it's USB. Again, speaking from experience. For the most part, Teams is incredibly easy to set up and configure, and you probably won't have to make adjustments to these settings that often. When working in OneNote, sometimes it may feel like we've lost some files. But don't worry, OneNote has us covered. The first thing that OneNote has is a powerful search capability that will search not only our notes, but also pictures, handwriting, audio, and video recordings. And we should be able to find our lost files and notes in no time flat. The easiest way to do this is in the search dialog box, pop in what you're looking for. I'm going to type in the word clear, and I can see my vendor list has the word clear. Let's go ahead and select that. OneNote has found 2 instances of the word clear. I can also filter on this search by section, section group, or the notebook. If you recently upgraded your version of OneNote, you may have noticed that some of your notes are missing. To locate these missing notes, you will select Quick Notes from the Notebook dropdown. In my case, I don't have any notes here because this is a brand new installation. If you did have any of your missing notes here, you would then save those back to your original notebook. We'll pop back to our weddings notebook. If you're working on a shared notebook, sometimes notes can be lost because a sync hasn't occurred to all the shared locations. The easiest way to fix this is to manually sync the notebook. To do so, on the title of the notebook, right-click, and then sync this notebook. You can also use the keyboard shortcut Shift plus F9. Once the sync is completed, have the other people who are using that shared OneNote see if they can see those files. Another place to look for lost notes is in the recycle bin. You will find the recycle bin under History. Select Notebook Recycle Bin, and be sure that you select the top option, Notebook Recycle Bin. The second option will empty the recycle bin, and that will not help you in recovering lost files. In our example, we have deleted pages, as well as a deleted section. To restore a deleted section, right-click on it, and then select Move or Copy. Select the notebook where it needs to go, and then Move or Copy, whichever one works for you. We can now see the postcard section is back in the weddings notebook. By default, the recycle bin will keep your data for up to 60 days. We can also set up a backup schedule for our notebooks. To do so, click on File, Options, and then Save and Backup. By default, OneNote already creates a backup for us. This default setting will back up the notebooks every week. We can adjust this. I'm going to select 10 minutes. We can also select the number of copies to keep as well. This is also one of the locations where we can force a backup. To do so, select Backup All Notebooks Now. Our backup completed successfully, and we can select OK. We do have a pop-up here letting me know that one of the changes that I've made may not take effect until I start OneNote. I'm okay with that. You now know how to find lost files and back up your notebooks. But what if the unthinkable did happen and you had to restore a backup of OneNote? Well, it's really simple to do. You'll go back up to File and then Open Backups. Here, you'll have a list of your backed up notebooks. Select the notebook that you need to restore from. I'm going to select Upcoming Weddings and then Open. You'll notice that this opens a notebook called Open Sections. From here, I can simply go ahead and move or copy my section or page back to another notebook. In the case of Vendor, I can move or copy this back to the Weddings notebook. In this case, I only have the option to copy. If we pop back into the Weddings notebook, you'll notice that I have the original Vendor section and I also have the restored version. Searching and recovering your notes in OneNote is incredibly easy to do, as you just saw. For tips and tricks, see the OneNote Help Center or one of the many OneNote courses in the library. Microsoft is continually improving their products, which may require updates to your applications, and on occasion, an update may cause syncing issues with OneNote. If you're experiencing syncing issues with OneNote, you can try the following troubleshooting techniques. First, Microsoft recommends keeping your version of OneNote up to date to avoid possible syncing issues. To do this, select File, Account, and Update Options, and then select Update Now. If this does not work for you, and you find your notebook still will not sync to your online version, you will need to determine whether or not the issue is occurring on your local or desktop version of OneNote, or if it's the version that's in Office 365. The easiest way to determine if your local copy is causing the issue, simply close down the notebook and reopen it. Let's go ahead and do that. Click on File, select the notebook that you're having issues with. Let's pretend that it's Weddings, and then close. Now you can go ahead and reopen it. Popping back up to File, Open, and then select the notebook from the pinned locations. The notebook will now reopen, and during this process, the connection will be reset and syncing should start again. If syncing is still not occurring to the online version, your next step is to check the online version. There are 2 ways to do this. You can either log in Office 365 and open up the notebook from Office 365, or you can go ahead and copy and paste the link that's already provided to you in the desktop version. And that's what we're going to do. You'll find the link by selecting File, and then right within Info, you'll see the links for the various notebooks. Let's grab the Weddings link, copy, and now you'll need to pop into your favorite browser, and then paste the link. If the notebook opens here and the content looks similar, then you'll know the notebook is syncing appropriately. If you are unable to open or view the notebook in the browser, the issue is probably server related and you'll need to contact your IT help desk. We're going to pop back into the desktop version to view the sync status of our notebooks. And you'll notice that I'm still in the info section of OneNote. From here, you can select View Sync Status. You'll notice we are configured to sync automatically whenever there are changes to our notebooks. But we could also go ahead and sync manually. This screen also provides us the information about the last time that a sync occurred. And as we can see here, we have one that's waiting for an update. Our notebook, Cecilia at London Hotel, is up to date with the time of the last sync as well. We can also sync now if we wish to do so. I'm going to go ahead and close this. On occasion, you may notice that only specific sections of your notebook will not sync. To work around the lack of syncing in a section, all you need to do is create a new section and then copy the non-syncing sections to the new section and then manually sync. We're going to go ahead and do that now. We're going to assume that our London Hotel section is not syncing. On the section, right-click, and then move or copy. I'm going to copy this to the same notebook, and the trick is it has to be a copy. When I do this, you'll notice that we now have London Hotel 2. At this point, we can now go ahead and force a manual sync, and we can do that right from the Section tab. And we can do that by right-clicking on the notebook and sync this notebook now. Once you've determined the new section is syncing, you can safely go ahead and delete the old section. If you happen to encounter the error, there is not enough space during syncing, this simply means that you've run out of space on the location that you're syncing to, and this will be locally. Luckily, this is easily solved by deleting the old backups or optimizing your notebook, which reduces the size of your notebook. Let's go ahead and take a look at these two options. To do so, I'm going to go back to File and Open Backups. And I'm doing this to start deleting sections of my notebooks, and these are backup sections. I can simply start selecting the sections that I can safely delete. That will free up some space for us. The next thing we can do to save space is to optimize our notebooks. To do that, pop back into File, Options, Backup and Save, and then under Optimizing Files, we can optimize all files now. You will notice that I have enabled Optimize Files after OneNote has been inactive for the following number of minutes. The default is 20, but we can adjust that if we would like to optimize more often or not as often. Following these troubleshooting tips should get your syncing back on track. For additional tips and tricks, please refer to the OneNote Help Center, or there are several courses in the library that can help you with this as well. Let's spend some time troubleshooting some typical Visio printing issues. The first thing you'll want to do is ensure that your printer is working, the cables are all connected, and that your printer software is up to date. If your printer is fine, then the printer error may occur if the drawing size and the printer paper size do not match. As you can see in our demonstration, our diagram has spanned several pieces of paper. And we can take a look at that a little better in the printer setup. This is definitely not how I want this to print. I would like this to be on one page. To correct this, there are a couple things you can do. From the ribbon, select Design, and then under Size, you can either change the paper size, or you can select Fit to Drawing. Unfortunately, that didn't make a lot of difference in my case. It cleaned it up a little bit. Next, what I'm going to do is configure the page setup. And here we can see the printer paper and the drawing page. If I select Fit to 1 by 1, then our diagram will be adjusted to fit on one page of paper. And there we go, the adjustments have been made. And we'll take a look at that in print one more time. Perfect. Sometimes you'll find that the connectors in your Visio drawing will not print correctly. Here are the most common reasons and fixes. First, the connectors are a non-printing layer of the drawing. To ensure that the connectors are printing, what you'll need to do, from the Home ribbon, select Layers, and then Layer Properties. And you'll want to ensure that you can print the connectors. If you don't want the connectors printed, uncheck this. And this is cool too. If you don't want to see the connectors, unselect Visible, and hit OK. And your connectors are now gone. Let's turn those back on. You may find that some printers can't print a dash line or a very faint line. You may need to convert it from a dash line to a solid line, or if it's already a solid line, you may need to make it darker. To do so, select the line, and then from the home ribbon, line, and then add some weight. I'm going to make this pretty prominent at 4.5 point. And that's all you need to do. For more Visio tips, tricks, and troubleshooting help, please see the Visio support page. Visio is awesome, but there may be times when it seems impossible to select a shape on your drawing. Luckily, there are two common reasons for this. First, the shape is locked. I am clicking, and I cannot seem to select any of my shapes. To fix this, I need to select Layers, Layer Properties, and then under Flowchart, uncheck Lock. Apply, and now I can grab and move my objects. The other possibility is that the shape is protected. Now, you need to keep in mind that this functionality is only available if you use the Developer tab. The first thing I need to do is enable the Developer tab so I can show you how to protect these shapes. The Developer tab can be found under File, Options, and Advanced. Then scroll all the way down to the bottom. Under General, select Run in Developer Mode, and then OK. You will now notice that we have a new tab. I'm going to select an object, and then Protection. Then select what you want to protect. It could be the width, the height, the format, the text. For our example, we're going to select From Selection. I could also select everything. Now, this is a two-step process, as we can see here. That shape can still be selected unless we enable shapes from the Drawing Explorer Protect Document dialog box. And that is here. Pop up to Drawing Explorer, and then on the path, right-click and select Protect Document. In this case, I'm going to select Shapes, and OK, and I'm going to close the drawing window again. And you can't see it, but I am clicking like crazy on this object, and I cannot select it. I can still select the other objects, but Refractored is not selectable. Those are two very simple fixes if you happen to run across a Visio drawing where you cannot select a shape. For additional Visio tips, tricks, and troubleshooting help, see the Visio support page. As with most Office applications, you may experience some challenges if there are different versions of the application being used in the environment, and Visio is no different. If some of the users in the environment are using a newer version of Visio and some are still using an older version, there's going to be some hiccups. Visio, like Excel, comes with a compatibility checker to advise you on these possible issues. You will find the compatibility checker under File, Info, Check for Issues, and then Check Compatibility. The checker will let you know which features in this document are not supported by earlier versions. If you save this file as an earlier version, you may lose some of the features. In our example, we can see that some of the theme effects may not be viewable when using an earlier version of Visio. That's okay. I'm going to select OK, but I am going to save this in an older file format for the users in my environment who have an older version of Visio. To do so, select File, Save As. I'm going to save this in my Documents folder. And in this example, I'm going to save it as a Visio 2003 to 2010 drawing. I do not need to rename it. And just like before, the compatibility checker pops up letting us know that some of the features are not going to be viewable with the older versions. I'm going to go ahead and click Continue. And that's it. Users within the office using an older version of Visio will now be able to see this file. To keep your local files in sync with OneDrive or SharePoint, Microsoft provides the OneDrive Sync Client tool to do this automatically for you. But there are some limitations that you need to be aware of. And if you violate any of these limitations, you may experience issues when syncing your files. To start with, you cannot have any of the following strings in your file names. The file name cannot include icon, .lock, con, prn, aux, null, com1-9, or lpt1-9. If your file name contains any of these combinations, it will not sync. In addition, you cannot have any of the following characters in your file or folder names: the greater than or less than signs, a colon, quotes, the pipe, a question mark, an asterisk, or either slash. In addition to the invalid characters, for folder names, you also cannot have a folder name with _T in it or _W, as well as the word forms. As the number of files to be synced reaches 100,000, the performance will degrade if storing all the files in a single OneDrive for Business site or Team site library. To work around this, design a folder structure to accommodate the 100,000 file limit. Using the OneDrive client, the maximum file size upload currently for OneDrive for Business is 15 gig. During the year of 2020, this limit should be increased. The max file size upload for OneDrive is 100 gig. There is also a 400 character limit for full path names. Be sure to keep your paths, including file names, under 400 characters. Another limitation of OneDrive locations is they cannot be assigned to Mac or network drives. There are a few Windows-specific restrictions and limitations that you need to know about. The OneDrive app must be installed on the local system. The user must have permission to write to the user profile, and the user's profile with the data must be available without a network connection. These are some of the examples of the limitations when using OneDrive. Always refer to the Microsoft support pages for more information as it pertains to your specific environment. In most cases, OneDrive hums along, but on occasion you may run into the occasional hiccup. If you do run into a hiccup, these are the things that you're going to want to look for. First, you'll want to be sure that you're actually connected to the internet and that you have the correct permissions to upload to a specific folder. There are restrictions on how long a file name can be when you're uploading to OneDrive, as well as the limit of the file itself. Currently, there is a limitation of 15 gig for OneDrive for Business. That limit should be increased sometime during 2020. Or your file name may contain invalid characters, and you can upload files to OneDrive if the file is open. Let's pop into our demo system and explore a few more common issues and fixes. A common uploading issue is caused because the file that's being uploaded has the same file name as what's already in OneDrive. In our example here, we can see the wedding folder on both my local system and in OneDrive. And in both cases, we have a file called vendor list. I'm going to move another file with the same file name to that same location in the wedding folder. I'm going to drag it right over, and you're going to notice that we immediately have an error. And that is because this file name already exists. I had the option to replace it. I'm going to go ahead and do that. For our next demonstration, I'm going to minimize my File Explorer window and maximize the window for OneDrive. Close your eyes and imagine with me. You've been working all day on a PowerPoint presentation. It's late in the day, you're tired, and all of a sudden you realize, I really don't need a copy of that PowerPoint presentation, and you accidentally delete it. We've all been there. Yes, I'm sure I want to delete it. I am so sure that I don't need this file anymore. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. You go home, you have a nice quiet night, you come in the office in the morning, and you panic because the file is gone. Don't worry, you can get it back. All you need to do is go into Recycle Bin. Within Recycle Bin, select the file that you deleted and then select Restore. This could take a moment for the file to be restored back to the original folder. If the file isn't there immediately, do a refresh and just be patient. Don't freak out. And then you'll notice that your file is back. I don't know how many files you have in your OneDrive, but I know I have several, and I hate searching through all of them. There's an easy way to search within OneDrive. Select My Drive and then search. In my example, I'm actually going to use the search term Landon because I know I have several files with Landon in it. As I said, I have several files with Landon in it. To further narrow down this search, I can specify when the file was modified, or my favorite feature is I can narrow down the search by the type of document, in this case, Word. You can also narrow down the search by filtering on people. That covers most of the common OneDrive issues and basic document management. For additional assistance, please speak to your IT administrator, and for additional tips, tricks, and help, please see the OneDrive Help Center or the other courses in the library. It can be incredibly frustrating when your local files are not syncing with OneDrive or SharePoint when you're using the OneDrive Sync client. Here's a quick list of the common issues and fixes to get your files syncing once again. The first thing you'll want to do is close open files that may be open that you are trying to sync. Another common sync issue is caused by the file being too large. You can try reducing the file size by compressing or zipping it. You'll want to ensure that Windows and Office are up to date, as always, and reduce the file name path. Next, ensure that you have the right permissions to upload files to the folder. The easiest way to check this is to open a file from that folder. If you can't open or save a file, then you don't have the right permissions. And remember, the OneDrive or SharePoint files will be synced to your local system. Therefore, you need to ensure that you have enough free space to allow this. If you're looking for some space, delete unwanted files and empty the recycle bin. Now let's pop into our demo and take a look at some other common fixes. If those fixes do not work, next you can try using the Microsoft Support and Recovery Assistant tool. This tool will run tests and it will attempt to fix any detected issues or at least provide you details on how you can solve the problem. This tool can be downloaded from the Outlook Support Center. I've already gone ahead and downloaded and installed the application. Let's go ahead and launch it. If you're prompted with a security warning, go ahead and select Run. And you'll notice that this tool is not just for OneDrive. You can use this tool for a variety of your Office applications. We're going to select OneDrive for Business, and then Next. We need help syncing our OneDrive files, but you can also use this tool if you need help installing OneDrive. I need to let it know that this is the affected machine. You may be prompted for your username and password. I have already run this tool and it has that information already saved for me. In my example, we actually have an error here. I can select Perform, and the Support and Recovery Assistant will fix the error for me. In this case, the tool is reporting an error, and we can take a look at the summary of everything it did. In this example, this error is not actually causing any sync issues for me. I can go ahead, click Next, and I'm going to select that my problem's been fixed. I don't want Microsoft Support to contact me, therefore I'm going to select No, and then Submit. That's it. That's all there is to it. It will take a moment for the Support and Recovery Assistant to wrap things up. If the tool was unable to fix your problem, sometimes restarting the OneDrive Sync client will. To restart the OneDrive Sync client, the first thing you'll need to do is pop down to your taskbar, locate the icon, right-click it, and then close OneDrive. Are you sure? Yes, I am. You can either relaunch the OneDrive Sync client from your local system, or you can do it from the Office 365 portal. That's my preference. To do so, pop into Office 365 and into OneDrive, and then Sync. OneDrive will now open, and then start Sync. But before you do that, you can change what files and folders are being synced to your local system from here. I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to go ahead and start that sync. You will also want to ensure that your OneDrive account is actually connected to your system correctly. To do so, you'll pop back down to the OneDrive icon, right-click, and then select Settings. In Account, you can confirm that OneDrive is connected to your actual account. It's here you can also add another account. Sometimes the Office Upload Cache system can interfere with syncing, and turning this off can correct the issue. You'll find this setting in the Office tab. You would then uncheck Use Office Applications to sync Office files that I open. I'm going to leave that as is. Finally, you can try unlinking and relinking OneDrive. To do so, pop back into Account, and then unlink this PC. When you unlink the account and relink it, the connection will reset itself again. At this point, you would go ahead, unlink the account. This will stop the synchronization, and then you could relink the account. If these steps do not solve the problem, you will need to contact your local IT help desk, or you can refer to the OneDrive Help Center for additional tips, tricks, and troubleshooting techniques. Like OneDrive, you may encounter similar uploading issues when trying to upload to a SharePoint site, and this is because the underlying technology is similar. As with OneDrive, there is a maximum path length in SharePoint. The limitation in SharePoint is 260 characters, not the 400 that is allowed in OneDrive. You also cannot upload empty files or folders to SharePoint Online. Let's pop over to the demo and explore the other issues you may encounter when using SharePoint Online. Another common issue that you may encounter in SharePoint is when you're trying to use the same name for a file, a list, an application, etc. Let me show you. Here we already have a photographer's list. If I go back up to Home, and then New, List, and try to use that same name, it will error out on me. I'm not going to modify this name, I'm just going to cancel. I'm going to pop into Documents for our next step. SharePoint will not allow you to save files or folders that contain invalid characters. Let's go ahead, try renaming one of these files to see the results. In our example, I'm going to try to rename Flores. And I'm simply going to add the question mark to the end of the file name. And we can immediately see we have an error. The next error you probably won't see when you're working on your own, but you may come across it when working on a team. Let's open up the Flores doc. We're just going to open it in the browser, keep it simple. Now that the file is open, we're going to pop back into our SharePoint documents list. And at this point, I'm going to try to delete this file. Yes, I'm really sure I'm unable to delete it because the file is open. In order to delete this file, I would need to first close it. Or if it's another user using it, they would need to close it. And finally, you may run into issues opening files from SharePoint. The two most common issues are the format of the file is not supported or the file is damaged. Let's go ahead and try to open our unsupported file .abc. And you'll notice all that happens is a blank screen. I do have the option to try to open this from a download, but it will not work as it is an unsupported document type. That covers most of the common SharePoint issues that you may encounter. For additional assistance, please refer to your IT help desk or your SharePoint administrator. And as always, you can find more tips, tricks, and troubleshooting techniques at the SharePoint Help Center or in other courses in this library. After you've created a publication in Publisher, you may want to merge it with a mailing list for distribution. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to attach a distribution list to your publication and then distribute it either through printing or as a separate publication. As you can see, we're already in Publisher. The first thing we need to do is select Mailings from the ribbon and then select Recipients. And I'm going to use an existing list, but we could type a new list. Search for your list. Ours is an Excel file called Vendor List. And I need to select the sheet that has the recipients on it. This is a very simple example. All we have is our first name, last name, company name, city, and state. If I wanted to edit this list, I can do so by selecting the list and then edit. In this case, I'm going to change Lisa to Beth. I could also add a new entry if I wanted to do so. I'm also going to correct Clear Vision and fix Maria's name. For some reason, she has a 2 at the end of her name. We'll select OK, and then we're prompted. Do we really want to make these changes? Yes, we do. Once you have your recipient list selected, you can then add in the merge fields. And we simply start adding in those fields. I'm just going to select the company name and the first and last name. I'll move that up. That's really hard to see. Let's make it a little bit bigger. And make some adjustments. Perfect. One of the really cool things that you can do in Publisher is preview the results first. Let's select Preview, and we notice that everything is running together. Let's fix this. I'm simply going to move the first name and last name to a new line and add a space. That looks a little bit better. Perfect. Once you're happy with the layout, you can now select Finish and Merge. And the first thing we're going to do is merge this to a printer. And we can see if we were to print this right now, we'd have 6 sheets. But you can modify this if you wish. You can specify only certain records to be printed. We can also change the number of pages per sheet. Here you'll notice that we can change it to a booklet. We can do multiple copies per sheet if we wanted to do so. There's many options. I'm going to go back to 1 page per sheet. And you'll notice that this looks a little bit off because as soon as I started making those adjustments, some of the other options changed, as we can see here. For example, our paper source changed. I'm going to go back up and change that back to a letter. And that looks about right. I'm not going to print this at this time. We're going to go back. And I'm going to show you Merge to a new publication. Here, this will create a whole new document. In my example, I have some fonts that are not available. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. The new publication now has each of those pages within it. You can now save this publication. There's one last thing I want to point out here. I'm going to return to the original publication. If I save this now, what will happen is that recipient list will be attached to this publication. If you'd like to clear that, go back up to Select Recipients and then Cancel Merge. This will remove all the merged recipients, but leave the fields and you could delete those later. For more tips, tricks, and Publisher help, refer to the Publisher Help page. Let's explore some custom printing options in Publisher. I have my postcard up again, and this time I've applied a background color to it, and I've done it for our demonstration. A common issue that can be experienced in Publisher is knowing where the page will be trimmed and ensuring that the background color extends past that trim. This is also referred to as bleeds. I'm going to show you how to determine where the trim is and at what point the background color stops and then extend it past the trim. To do this, you'll pop into File and then Print. In this example, we're using a C-size sheet of paper. This allows us to have the page printed twice. To determine where the trim will be, we're going to pop into Printer and then scroll all the way down to the bottom to Advanced Output Setting. I'm going to turn on the crop marks. We can see at this point, this is where the printer will stop printing. This is our trim. The problem is that you'll notice that this is right in line with our background color. To ensure that that background color covers the entire piece of paper, we need to enable the bleed, and we'll do that in the same location. Under Advanced Output Settings and Allow Bleeds. It's a little hard to see. I'm going to zoom in, and you can now see that that background color extends past the crop lines or the trim. Turning on the crop marks and allowing the bleeds ensures that you know exactly how that publication is going to look when it's printed. You can also customize the page setup, and you don't actually do it from print. We're actually going to go back to our publication and select Page Design and then Page Setup. Here you can fine-tune the printing details. For example, I'm going to click on one page per sheet, and you can see the preview there. We can also select some of the other options. One of the cool ones is selecting multiple pages per sheet. And yes, before we had 2, but what if you wanted more, such as 2 columns and 5 rows? You could do that here. You can also adjust the margins here, the horizontal gaps, etc. Those are 3 quick tips to help you customize your publication printing. On occasion, our email files may become damaged. Before calling Help Desk, I'm going to show you how you can repair a damaged email file. I'm also going to show you how you can pull specific emails from a backup email file. The first thing you'll need to do is locate where your email files are. To do so, open Outlook, select File, Account Settings, and Account Setting one more time. Then select the second tab, Data Files. Here, you'll see the location of the email files. You could manually browse to these locations or simply select Open File Location, which is what I'm going to do. Now that we know where the files are located, we can run the Inbox Repair tool. But first, you'll need to locate it. I find the easiest way to locate that tool is to search for it. I know that I'll need to look in Windows, Program Files, Microsoft Office, Root, and Office 16. Your location may be different. The executable to run the Inbox Repair tool is called Scan PST. I'm going to search for that. And there it is. You can go ahead and launch it. Next, enter the name of the file that you want to scan. This is why you need to know the location of those files. I'm going to select my file, and then I'm going to select Start. And I've popped up with an error, and I do this all the time. I cannot run the Inbox Repair tool on a file that's open. That means you must close Outlook. Let's go ahead and do that. Close Account Settings, and then close Outlook. Now let's click Start. My file is very small, and it only took a few seconds for the repair tool to scan that entire file. If you have a very large email file, this could take several minutes, if not longer. The Inbox Repair tool found 103 errors within this file. Before I select Repair, I am going to make a backup of that scanned file. Luckily, the Repair tool itself checks that box for us. I'm going to leave the default, then select Repair. I already have a backup file, therefore I'm being prompted, do I want to replace this file? Yes, I do. And our repair is complete. That was really quick and simple. We can now go ahead and launch Outlook one more time. If you were unable to see those emails before, hopefully that repair fixed the problem and you can now get to your emails. If that doesn't work, you can try pulling emails from a backup file. I've already created a couple of backups of my current inbox. Let me show you how we pull those files. Select File, Open and Export. And then I have 2 choices. I can either open the Outlook data file or I can import that entire data file. Let's go ahead and open it first. I'm going to select the backup PST. And if I scroll down, you'll see that file here, and you'll see there's 780 files. At this point, I could easily start grabbing the emails that I need and pulling them into my inbox or another folder. This is a great option for picking and choosing certain email messages. But what if you want to bring in the entire backup? Well, you can do that with an import-export, but the first thing you need to do is close the Outlook data file. Then pop back up to File, Open and Export, and then Import-Export. This is also where you can manually create backups. We're going to import from another program. The file is a PST file. I will be selecting the same file that we just opened, but in this case, we're actually going to import those emails. I have 3 options to choose from. I can replace the duplicates with the items imported. I can allow duplicates or not import duplicates at all. For our demonstration, I'm going to allow duplicates. Normally, I don't allow duplicates because it just bloats the file, but if I don't allow it here, you will not see our number in our inbox increase. We're currently at 383. I'm going to go ahead, click Next. You can filter down on the folder that you want to import from. I'm going to do the whole thing. I'm okay with that. I can import items into the current folder, or I can import them into the same folder in a different email file. I'm going to leave Cecilia. Depending on how large the backup is, it could take some time. And you'll notice that my inbox has definitely increased to over 1,000. And that is because I allowed duplicates. It's not too often that you'll have to do this. And if you find it a little bit intimidating, please reach out to your IT help desk for support. They'll be more than happy to get you back up and running. Most connectivity issues that you may experience with Outlook are typically caused by outdated software or corrupt email profiles, both of which can be easily resolved. You can fix outdated software by ensuring that Windows and Office are up to date, and we've done that a couple times now within this course. If you're still unable to connect, the next step is to repair the profile. Let's go ahead and do that. We're currently in Outlook. You will select File, and then Account Settings, and Account Settings one more time. Here we have two email addresses. We have Cecilia, which is the account that I'm working with, and another Gmail account. I've selected Cecilia, and I'm unable to repair this profile, and that's because it's all managed through Office 365. But if I select the Gmail account, I then have the option to repair that profile. We'll now step through the process of repairing. In my example, my account was successfully repaired. I can click Done. You can also use the Support and Recovery Assistant tool to help correct issues when connecting to Outlook. And we've seen this tool in action earlier in the course, but let's review it one more time. First thing I need to do is close down the account settings, and I'm going to minimize Outlook. I've already downloaded the Support and Recovery Assistant tool and installed it. And I have a shortcut for it on my desktop. If you're prompted with a security warning, go ahead and run. Now we need to select the app that we're having problems with. In this case, it's Outlook. We can now select the problem that we're having. In this case, what I'm going to do is select I need help setting up Office 365 email in Outlook. Select Next. Yes, this is the affected machine. Next again. In my case, I'm not prompted for a username or password. If you're running this tool for the first time, you will be. Please enter that. The tool is now checking all of our settings. In our example, our system settings look fine, which is fantastic. If there was an issue, the tool would let us know what that issue could be and the possible fixes. As we already have Office 365 set up, I don't need to go ahead and click Yes. I'm going to select No and then Cancel. These troubleshooting steps should get you back on track, but if not, you will need to escalate your issue to your IT help desk. Have you ever sent an email and then 15 seconds later you receive an email back indicating that your original email could not be sent? In this lesson, we'll explore some of the common reasons why our emails fail and some possible solutions. The reports that you receive back indicating that there was an issue with your sent email are called non-delivery reports, or NDRs. And it can be frustrating to try to figure out why an email was not sent. Most NDRs are caused by bounce-back messages. Let's take a look at some of the most common NDR errors and ways to fix them. And the first error is an incorrect email address. You'll want to review the NDR report itself to confirm that the email address that you typed in is correct. Then try re-entering the recipient's email address one more time. If the incorrect email address is in your autocomplete list, you'll want to remove it to avoid the same issue in the future. If the email address is correct, ask the recipient to check for broken forwarding rules. They may have inadvertently have a rule that is causing the bounce back. For example, blocking email from a certain domain. Your next step is to ensure your email account has not been compromised. To check this, check your sent mail folder. If the email is in the sent folder and you did not send it, then change your password and run an anti-malware scan. If the email is not in your sent folder, your account may have been falsified. If you feel your account has been falsified, you'll want to review the NDR to confirm that you actually sent the message and check your sent email folder. If the message is not there, then it's very possible that the spammer falsified the from email address. This is a very common practice, so don't panic, but change your password and run an anti-malware scan. If the preceding steps did not solve the issue, it should then be escalated to your IT department. Now that you understand Office 365 and the Microsoft productivity applications when it comes to troubleshooting, you may want to dig a little deeper. There are several deep dive courses in the library expanding on the topics that we touched on in this course. You can always refer to the Microsoft Office training website for more information.